Can we start with your team news, please? Any new issues that you have to be concerned with heading into the weekend?
No, I think all the players are going to be available. In the last game, Danny Ward, we stopped him because he received one kick in the previous game, but he's fine. He's going to make the normal training today, but still I have one training more to do. So I hope that we continue with the same availability of players today.
How did Peeper's surgery go on Tuesday? Did it go as planned?
Yes, everything was working well and was in the normal process. Now he need to be 1 week without move from the place where he had the surgery, because he need to now stop. And after this, I think he's going to be around 8 weeks without can make any type of running or any type of exercise. And after the 8 week is when he start to make little some work with the first medical staff. And like I'd say, around 12 weeks is the time that the doctors consider that he can come back to training with the group.
How important will it be to have him still in and around the club, though, in that period? Are you going to be able to have him in on a regular basis around the club to be able to see his teammates, his friends, all those kinds of things? That's important, isn't it?
Yeah, after 1 week, he's going to come back here with the club and he will do the normal process of recovery that the medical staff is managing. It's an injury that demands a little bit of time without doing any type of work. So it's clear that after this week, he needs to start to progress in the work, and with the work to arrive to the 12 weeks. With the option to can start to work with the group, but we know that people is a little bit special situation because he didn't do the precision. But we are going to be focused now to fix this, and the more positive thing with people is that after this period of 12 weeks, everything be solved with his injury.
How have the side been and the players been since the defeat to Everton? It was a really battling performance, wasn't it? You probably deserved more from the game than you got.
I think the game had different moments. At the beginning of the game, we didn't play with enough, maybe with a lot or with enough stability in terms of the managing the ball. That's why we allowed them to have a couple of counter-attacks that we should have avoid. But after the minute 20, after they scored the goal, for me, the team started to grow in the game, start to grow in the option how we were creating the chances, start to find Vallejo as a free player in the middle of the pitch. Vallejo start to find players between the lines, like could be Scott High or could be Sinani or could be Holmes, and the team start to feel more options to attack and create more chances. I think the second half was exactly what we wanted in the first part of the second half, because we were taking the control of the game, we were creating the chances, and Everton didn't create any option or any chance. But it's true that we didn't, like I say, after they lost one player in the pitch, after the one player was sent off, maybe we didn't manage the game with enough calm to continue creating the chance. We wanted just to the game, and sometimes when you don't care a lot about your position in attacks, you start to allow the team to make more counter-attacks. And the counter-attack, you don't need to have 11 players in the pitch to make counter-attack. With 10 players in the pitch, you can still continue making counter-attacks. And I think was what happened, that we start to share the control of the game when we have one player more in the pitch.
You've spoken quite a lot this season about getting your side to compete firstly, and then the results and the performances will come as well. But your side competed really well, didn't they, against a very strong Everton side? How much belief do they take from that, and how pleased are you with that mentality? Because having gone behind in the game, other sides may well have crumbled, but they didn't. They actually, as you say, grew from that point onwards.
I think it's important, 100%. First of all, compete well. Compete well means don't have mistakes that you can avoid, that you have in the conditions to avoid, and be managing well the different moments that the game has, like the moment after you score the goal or the moment after they score the goal, to don't create one result that be more difficult after to change. So in some moments you are going to compete well and perform well. In some moment of the game, it was exactly what we did the other day against Everton, and it's clear that in my mind, the team that I want to create or the team that we want to be is the one team very similar, that how we play in some moments against Everton. But sometimes because the shape of the opponent, sometimes because the behavior of the opponent, are going to allow you to do this more, are going to allow you to attack better, and more like everything switch more to attack better, or sometimes because how the opponent is pressing, what they are doing in the pitch, don't allow you to can show some behaviors in attack. But even when you can show or when you cannot show, for me it's very important. The first point that I told you, that be managing very well different moments of the games, be managing very well different situations of the game, and the fact that you try to attack more or to play better doesn't have to reduce any option of the competitive levels of the team.
Lots of managers and head coaches rotate their goalkeeper for the League Cup games, but you chose to stay with Lee Nicholls. Can you talk us through why you chose to do that and what impact you think that could have on Ryan Schofield, who obviously won't see much game time now by the looks of things?
No, I think Schofield was playing against Derby County. Schofield was playing after against Fulham, and for me it was clear that if I would have arrived to this situation or to this cup game with Lee Nicholls having played Derby County and Fulham, because it was the normal thing after he was playing in the cup, in the first round of the cup, Schofield he would have played this round in the cup, because I would have used this game to give enough minutes to him to continue growing and to continue watching, trying to move from the training, the improvements in the game situation. But like Lee Nicholls had the COVID in this period of time, I think that he needed now to continue having minutes to adapt to the team and to continue growing as a keeper too.
And he made a very important save, didn't he, as well, during the game down to his right-hand side early on?
Yes, it's very important always to have the keeper ready to face this type of situation, because unfortunately not always all the defense behaviors are going to stop any chance of the opponent, and of course you need a keeper in this type of situation. Plus, in the stability that one keeper can give you in set piece situation, covering the back of defenders in the game distribution. So at the end, many times we evaluate the work of the keeper just in terms of the saves, but the work of one keeper is too much more than just be ready to defend, because the communication with the team, the covering, the support in the central backs, giving the support to the central backs to make the distribution, and be dominating the box, be dominating the ball, the goal, and be dominating the space in the back of the defenders are key points that one keeper need to manage well.
Can I ask you about Soba Thomas? How much have you seen him improve since he arrived at the club? He's been playing really well recently.
I think so. I think Soba Thomas is being one of the players that, in my mind, I cannot tell you that he was one of the first 11 players when I was thinking in the squad, but never my thoughts before to see the reality of the situation are going to have any type of impact. Like, one thing is what I think, and another thing is what I watch. And what I am seeing now in Soba Thomas is that for me, is deserving the position that is taking in the team, being one of the first 11 players in the pitch, and that while he's playing in a row, being the player that have played more minutes now in the team in all the games that we are playing. So I always evaluate the performance of the players, because for me it's very important, evaluate very well what they are doing to see if they are doing enough things to protect their gap in the team, or if they have to do more things to arrive to cover this first 11 position that for me is really, really important.
And his set piece delivery is excellent as well, isn't it? That's a real weapon for your side when he can get the ball in with the pace and the direction that you want him to get it in with.
We know that set pieces situations are very important. Manage very well the set pieces in defense are key. Manage well the set pieces in attack are key too. In the first game against Derby County, we conceded one goal in one set piece situation. In the game against Fulham, we conceded the second goal in one set piece situation, both in one corner. So it was necessary to find an improvement, to find awareness of how important are the situation. And in the opposite way, in that point of view, for me, the team is creating the feeling of danger every time you have one set pieces. And at the end, this is the plus of one good delivery with the movements and option of the central backs in the box. Sometimes when you play with three central backs, normally you have one player you have one more specialist in the set piece situation. But it's important to have players that can make a good delivery from the right foot, from the right side, from the left side. And I think with Sorba, with Sinani, and with Holmes, we have three players that can manage well this type of situations.
Transfers wise, Carlos, nearly time for us to stop asking you about this, but have you had any change in your squad heading into this weekend? Any added interest or new interest in any of your players?
No. There is no any type of update that we can share with you, because there is simple any update. I always know that as a club we are looking to strengthen the squad is one of the points that we have in our mind, but I have to evaluate too and appreciate a lot the effort that the club has done to continue having some of our important players that are key for us too.
And you're expecting that to stay the same before the weekend? You would expect to be working with the same group of players going into Saturday then and no one departing?
I hope that we can keep minimum this group of players, but always the club is be looking for options that we can strengthen the team if we understand that are clear options that can improve the team, because add players without any type of improvement for me doesn't make any type of sense.
The points that you've picked up this season, Carlos, are you ahead of where you expected to be right now in terms of the points you've picked up from your opening games?
I don't expect to have any type of point. I don't go to any period of time trying to have different number of points. I knew that, like I said from the beginning, I have confidence in the squad. I am watching that this year we have more options to play, and we are watching this because for me we are one group of players that we are close to have two good players in each position, and this is for me something very important in the group and to have in the squad. After we know that you have COVID situation, you are going to have injury situation that unfortunately are going to affect on this type of situations, like can be now the option to lose Rhodes or Pipa, but still the team for me can create a competitive first 11, and this is the most important thing, even with options in the bench to can help the team. So I don't expect any number. We are just focused game by game, because the only important thing that we need to do is to be focused just in game by game. In the day of Derby County, we have the day first one, the game against Sheffield Wednesday. For me, we have the full squad, and for me, the team performed well. The game against Derby County was a little bit different because we start to suffer the consequence of the COVID that affect us to against Fulham too. And these two games were a little bit strange because we were losing some of the important players, but still for me, the team had a competitive first 11 in both teams that allowed me to don't go to that game with any type of excuse in the period that we have. And after we recovered some players for Preston game, we recovered them to another more players for Sheffield United game. And now we still have in 1 point that the only missing player plus Pipa and Rhodes is Ruffles, but he's working now with the team because yes, Ruffles from the period that I knew that I could recover before the international break. So now we have recovered Rolando Arons, who's working he was involved the other day in the game. He didn't play minutes, and only the players that are going to be out that we didn't have recovered yet is Aaron Rowe, because he continued with the same injury and he will be come back after the international break. So more than expect points, I want to have the more number of my players because I know with all our squad we are strong.
And finally, for me, then Reading, what do you make to them? They're a very similar side, maybe minus a couple of key players to what you faced at the end of last season. So what are you expecting from them this weekend?
I know how tough the game with Reading is going to be. I know if you take now just the game that we have played so far in the season, only 2 teams have won 3 games in a row. One is Fulham, another one is West Bromwich Albion. Only 2 teams of all the teams that we are in the Champions League have achieved to win 3 games in a row. So it's something that instead of is one reality thing of the championship, that every game is going to be a balance, every game is going to be a difficult game. The last year we played 2 games against Reading. We didn't win them in any of that game, so it means that Reading always is a strong opponent to face. But we are going to be just focusing all our possibilities to try to show again all our strengths and to try to reduce the options of the opponent. So always for me, our performance, we need to make that our performance depend on us, and we need to be just concentrating the things that we are going to show in the pitch.
Thank you, Carlos. All the best on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny. Stephen Chicken.
Hi, Carlos. You talked a bit about Soba Thomas there. Are you going to look to keep him at wing back while Pippa is out, do you think?
Everything for me depends about the option that we have. He can be playing as a winger, he can be playing as a wing back, and for me, he cannot play as a fullback. So I'm thinking in him more as an attacking player, more than a defensive player. Sometimes when you play with Lano 4, directly I'm thinking in him as a winger, but when you play with Lano 3, everything for me depends about the other player that can be better in that moment. Sometimes you can play with 2 fullbacks, like could be now play with Toffolo and Turton on the sides, because Ruffles cannot play right now. So we have the option to play with Lano 3 and 2 wing backs. We have the option now to play with an 4 because with having Turton and Toffolo, we have 2 full backs that can attack with an 4 and move the wingers to play as a wingers, or the option to play with an 3 using 1 full back and 1 wing back. So depending about what we think that suits more to the opponent or suits more to our team, first of all, to our team, how the players are right now, we are going to make these decisions.
Yeah, because you've looked very stable with that 3 at the back recently.
I think the team have been stable, but sometimes the fact to continue playing the same way maybe reduce options to be stable because you need a little bit sometimes depend about the opponents. If you feel one opponent that is playing, for example, with 2 strikers, for me the line of 3 is going to switch more. If we are facing one opponent that just play with 1 striker, sometimes the line of 3 are not going to help you to be aggressive in offensive half because you have 1 central more and you have 1 player less to press. So for me, everything depends many times because opponent is part of the game. It's not that you are going to change depending about the opponent. It means that the opponent create one relation with your team that switch more and make that some saves working better than another saves.
Speaking of the defence, Levi Colwell's been called up to the England under-21s. He's only 18. That's quite an achievement for him.
We always say that for me, when the player is so immature and they are showing that they are ready to compete, they just play and they can play in different levels. For me, he's showing that he's one player that is playing regularly and well in the championship. And when one player is playing the championship, so that he has one level of one high level to can compete in different competitions. I know how difficult for one under 18 player is to play in England under 21 because I know how strong England under 21 is. I know how many good players you can find in England under 18, in England under 21, in England first team, because it's was clear that England is one of the countries with more potential players right now in the world. So to have this call from Colwell is very positive for him. It's a very good step.
How far do you think he can go in the game?
I need to evaluate game by time by time. I don't want to talk a lot. Sometimes it's easy to talk about the future, but it's not true. Then it's for me more difficult to talk about the past and something that we usually doesn't do or we don't do. So I can tell you that for me, he was playing that from here was showing a lot of mature to manage the different situations, was showing enough mature to be in the first 11 of the team, and was helping the team when he was in the first 11 of the team.
Another player who came into the side on Tuesday, Danal Sinani, made his first start. I think fans were excited by what they saw from him. What do you think he brings to the side?
It's clear that Sinani is one of the players with managing of the ball. For me, he has quality to manage the ball in one high of the pitch where no every player is easy or no every player can manage easy the ball. He's one player that if he receives between the lines, he can create options to link the midfielder player with the more attacking players. And at the same time, for me, he's one attacking player that needs to be close to the goal involvement or close to the box to can help the team making more crosses or making more finishing or making more line of last pass. So I can imagine him in this part of the pitch.
It could be a really important player for you because I think sometimes the attack has looked like it's been missing that bit of spark. He looks like he might bring that to the side.
I think the attack never depends on the thinkings or the thoughts of the coaches. The attack always depends about the option of players. And in the same, something similar to defense. Even if as a coach, we work on behaviors. For me, it's key the player that you have to can attack, their skills, the possibilities, and the behaviors that they create. And sometimes we learn a lot from the behavior of the players, and we try to make this behavior that appear regularly. This is for me the part of the organization work of one coach that try to make that the potential of the player that you have appear many times in one game. So for me, Sinani is clear that to have not only Sinani, to have creative players in the last third of the pitch is going to make that one attack change in one chance or one attack change to one chance of the opponent.
with deadline day coming up, first of all, do you have an idea of how many players you might like to add to the squad?
Being honest, not my only clear thought is that when you add one player, need to be one player that you know that is going to make a high improvement in the team.
Yeah, and Isaac Campbells' future is still sort of up in the air. If he were not to leave the club, would he be brought back into the first team?
I think it's clear that both parts, club and Benza, are looking for one solution of his situation. And this solution, I didn't understand that this solution would be with Huddersfield. So still until this situation doesn't change, I'm not going to change my thoughts. So I will be continue focused to work with the players that I know that are going to be with us 100%.
Okay. And in terms of fitness, likes of Sinani, Toffolo, Campbell, are you happy now that they can, Tom Lees as well, that they can do 90 minutes now?
It's very positive to have players that when they are involved with the group, are players that all of them can be playing all the minutes. In some of the games at the beginning of this season, I knew that Sinani was on the bench, but with a option to play 90 minutes. I knew that Lees was in the bench just as an emergency player in case that something happened, because he didn't have the option to be playing the 90 minutes. Now it's totally different the situation. And something similar with Rhodes, because Rhodes, we find the injury of Rhodes after last week that he was involved with the team, but we knew that he wasn't complete normal the training because he had pain in the back. So right now I think that every player that is involved with the group can be one option for us.
With the international break coming up, what are your plans for the next 2 weeks?
I think you have two targets, clear targets. First is the recovery, because we know that we arrive to this period of international break after play enough number of games in a row. Thanks, fortunately, because it means that we could keep in the cup and we could play the second round of the cup. Then we are playing, if I don't remember bad, 5 games in a row. So the first step for me is the rest. Then after this rest, you have 3 days to come work really well with the players, trying to be focused in the improvement of the team, into continue improving the relations. Some of the players like can be Aaron Rowe, we expect them to come back. Rolando Arons that didn't be working with the team many times, or Ruffer that, for example, was missing many trainings, can be now working. And every time you have one period of training, we need to use very well, because championship never allow you to have many periods of full weeks to prepare the team and to continue growing in the team. For me, we had that feeling in the precision that we could work enough time with enough players, but now after with the COVID situation plus the games, we have that feeling. So now for me, it's important to recover the feeling to continue giving another step of collective improvement of the team.
And there was a new name on the bench this on Tuesday, John Russell. What can you tell us about him?
In that moment, for me, it was clear that in the game, without half Hoggy involved in the squad, we needed another option as a midfielder. And I was watching that he is a player that still have things to improve, still is a beating player for us in our understanding, but he's a player that was playing of minutes in the League One the last year. He's one player that have the good experience in his background, because he was a Chelsea player and it's not easy to arrive to the level that he achieved in Chelsea. But he's one midfielder that still we are going to develop. That's why we consider more beating player, because he's one player that still we need to develop to make him adapt in all the minutes to the championship level.
That's all from me. Thanks, Carlos. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you, Stephen. Leon Mobshall.
Hello, Carlos. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. I'm just sort of wondering, if you do win on Saturday, psychologically, 10 points, a strong start to the season, getting into double figures, that's a big thing, isn't it? It's a big incentive for your side.
Talk about the condition of what can happen. It's clear that it's one of the options, but I guarantee you that I am just focusing to prepare the game, to prepare the squad in the best way that we can prepare after the consequence of good performance. I hope that the team show a good performance that allow us to be close to the result that we can achieve. But now our full preparation is that how difficult in championship is to win 3 games in a row. It's going to be a high challenge, but at the same time, if our desire to go every game with determination trying to get a positive result.
Because that's not winning 3 games, league games in a row. That's something that's not happened for you so far at Huddersfield. So it would be nice.
Exactly, it doesn't happen to us, and it doesn't happen many times in the league. So it means that it's something very tough to achieve, and something that if you want that this happen, you need to move again your limits. You need to put your level from the individual thing and from the collective thing in the highest point that you can, because if not, it's very difficult to achieve.
People talk about style at the start of the season, but for a manager, it's all about results. There's so many games early in the season, and seeing the spirit and togetherness is probably the most important thing.
I think this is one of the most important things to achieve results. Sometimes the result have to be, for me, we need to understand the result as a consequence of manage well different type of situations. The style can help you to manage better with the style. For me, we can perform better, and if you perform better, you have more options to win the games. Doesn't mean that the only way to win one game is just performing well. And after, the mentality of the team is another point that is very important, very, very, very important to can achieve one positive result. That's why for me, sometimes the mentality is inside of the style of game, because if you talk about the style, you don't talk about anything. Because if you are attacking well, but you arrive to one set piece situation and you defend the set pieces without the intensity that the situation demands, all the work that you were doing, you are not going to receive anything, and you put down just in 1 second. For me, football is, sometimes you can be watching in football something like in the life. You can be driving your car with a lot of concentration in one travel of 90 minutes during 70 minutes, but if you lose the concentration when you are driving the car in 1 minute, just in 1 minute, you can have one accident that change everything. So every time you are in the road, you need to be with a lot of concentration, the things that you are doing. Every time you are in the pitch, it's exactly the same.
Yeah. And
so for me, it's very important to have this mentality.
And finally, I was just going to ask you about Soba Thomas. He's come from the national leagues. It shows there's real talent there if you look and you find the players. That's something that the club could hopefully exploit again, because there is talent below the Football League, isn't there?
I think in England is one of the few countries in the world where you are watching this type of players arriving to the top level of the country from the low levels of the leagues. I think you know more examples even than me, but something unbelievable in England is that you are watching that these things happen. But the second thing for me, because sometimes it's easy to talk about the players when they are performing well 1 game or 2 games, but it's important that for me, you build one career when you are being stable in one level. And Sorba, of course, is still one player that needs to prove that he can compete in a row in a good level. That not every player can do this, because some players make some impact in some moments, but for me, the high challenge in football is to be stable, so in a good level good level in the game.
Those players are very hungry to succeed because they've had it tough.
Is who? Sorry?
Hungry. Desire.
It's very important, because without this desire, of course, it's going to be more difficult to show this level in a row.
Thank you, Carlos. Good luck.
Thanks, Leon. Alfie, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, hi Carlos, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good stuff. I'd just like to ask you about Fraser Campbell. Obviously, you spoke very highly of him throughout last season. And I feel like since he's come back into the side, particularly the last 2 games, the structure of your attack's been a little bit better. Just wanted, your thoughts on how important he is to getting your attack to its full potential.
We know that for me, Campbell is one of the strikers in the team and one of the important players. I know the energy that Campbell can bring from the defensive moment. I know the energy that he can bring to fight for every ball. And I know that he's one player that he needs to be physically very well to counter impact better in the team. And I think now he's making this process. And I'm watching right now one Campbell in better physical conditions to can make the impact that we wait from him and the impact that he was showing that he can do for us.
Yeah, he seems to me to be able to bring out the best in other players in the attack when he plays the likes of Corberán and hopefully Thomas this season. Do you sort of feel that that's the case?
Sometimes this is relative because sometimes is more dependable the moment of the game more than the skills of the player. So, for example, against Sheffield United, Campbell arrived to the game in one moment where the game was more open with more transitions, and it allowed to have one player that even if he has skills to go in behind in the space, he's going to impact more the team. But something that is true too is that every time that Campbell is in the pitch, you feel that Campbell is in the pitch. And this is something very important in the player, that they may feel that they are in the pitch and you can feel the contribution of the player in the pitch. Sometimes this is easier when you play less minutes for some players, or even playing more minutes. But I think always is important that every player, when you put in the pitch, is showing that the player is there.
Thank you, Carlos. Best of luck tomorrow.